Baker Middle School, and welcome to the January edition of What's New in the Library. So this month I want to tell you about some of the great books that I've read over the course of the last month or so. So if you follow me on Instagram, you already know that I was totally rocking the Croque series in December. So let me tell you a little bit about this series. First, here's what the books look like. So that's the series. There's 3 books, and they take place in the town of Croque. Now, the main character's name is Lex, and Lex is a totally normal 14-year-old who all of a sudden starts getting really violent. She punches people out, like constantly, gets kicked out of school for all the punching and hitting she does on people, and just lots of attitude, and she's angry with the world, and her parents don't know what to do. Her twin sister feels like she's completely lost her, and her parents feel helpless. So they decide to send her for the summer to live with her Uncle Mort on his farm in upstate New York. And she's like, oh God, shoot me. So they're going to teach her a lesson and make her do farm work. So she gets on the bus and loads up and heads up to her Uncle Mort's farm. When she gets off the bus, she's in this really weird town, and all of a sudden this guy pulls up in a motorcycle, and he's got like covered in tattoos and spiky black hair, and it's super creepy, and he's Uncle Mort. And she gets on the motorcycle and she thinks she's going to die. And he takes her into the town of Croque. And turns out Uncle Mort has nothing to do with farming. Uncle Mort is a Grim Reaper. As a matter of fact, he's a mayor of a town of Grim Reapers. And what these people do is they go in, like after someone dies, time stands still for a second. And the Grim Reapers come in that split second and release the dead person's soul so that it can then be transported to the afterlife. And so they don't actually kill people, they just kind of move them on to the next phase. And that's the idea behind Croque. So the author's really funny. The books are actually funny, even though they're about Grim Reapers. And they're not scary at all. There's funny, there's some love story. They are young adult because of that love story. But they are really great books for those of you looking for a good paranormal action book. It's paranormal because it's about Grim Reapers and the afterlife and stuff like that. But it definitely has a lot of realistic features to it. It's teenagers and the things they're doing, and I just absolutely fell in love with this series. So we do have it here in the library. It's a great book. It's not so high school that it can't be in our library. And it's really, really good. So I highly recommend it. And like I said, it's in our paranormal section. So that one's worth checking out. Also, another book I read this month, after I finished that one, I was kind of in a book funk because I really liked the characters and I missed them once they were gone. So I decided to read a narrative nonfiction book. It's totally different because it's nonfiction, so it's true. And I wanted something that felt really different from that series because I'd loved it so much. So the next book I read was called The Nazi Hunters. Here's what it looks like. So it's a book about the second highest guy, kind of, in the Nazi regime during World War II. So this guy's name was Adolf Eichmann, and he was in charge of killing all the Jews. Like, that was his job, was to wipe out the Jewish population in Germany. And when the war was over, all those bad guys from the Nazi party were going to be held accountable for their crimes, and they tried to find him to put him on trial for the war crimes and the horrible things he did, and he escaped. I mean, he made it clean out, disappeared, nobody could find him. Well, it turns out about 10 years later, they start tracking him down, and he's living in Argentina. They go track him down and hunt him down, sneak him out of the country, like on a plane. It was crazy, and it was major spy stuff. And this is the story of how they did that. So it is totally true. It's written, when we say narrative nonfiction, that means it's written like a story. And so when you're reading it, you feel like you're really in it. And I couldn't put this one down. I loved it. And it was how they tracked him and how they snuck up on him and captured him in the middle of the night walking home from work and then smuggled him out of the country. And eventually he was held accountable for the horrible things he did. We do have a whole section of these books in our library. They have little red stickers on the spines, and they're in the nonfiction section. Actually, they're right there. See where it says narrative nonfiction? Right there. All of these red books, and there's a bunch more. They're just not here right now. All of these books are written like that. They're nonfiction books that feel like stories. And so you learn a lot about history, but you feel like you're right in the middle of it. I highly recommend these books. This is what I've been reading. Now let's find out what some kids have been reading over the last month.
Hi, my name is Honor. I'm in 5th grade. I read a book called Adelpho. This girl, her name was Cece Bell, and She was singing on the couch, and then she threw up. They rushed her to the doctor. The doctor said that she had some kind of brain disease, and then she couldn't hear, so she had to wear hearing aids. And then she went to a special school. There was kids like her, but she didn't meet any friends. And when she went back, they gave her teacher a microphone so she can hear her teacher better. And if you want to read the book, if you want to find out what happened to her at the end, you have to read it.
Hi guys, I'm Kate Cooper and I'm here to review the book 1 by Sarah Brosan. And this book is written in poetry form, and it's about these Siamese twins, Tippy and Gracie, who are not getting homeschooled anymore because the family trust funds or something like that runs out, and so now they have to attend public school. And they meet John and Yasmin, who are their new best friends, and Gracie starts having heart problems, and then they have to have surgery to get separation, or the heart surgery will kill both of them. And during the surgery, only one of them lives, and to find out, you should totally read this book 1 by Sarah Brosan.
New books this month. In the fantasy section, we have Crooked Star's Promise, one of the extra books in the Warrior series. Book 3 in the Magisterium series is in, and also book 3 in the Young Elite series by Marie Lu. This one's called The Midnight Star. Also in fantasy, we got in Story Thieves. This is about kids who learn how to jump inside of books in their school's library and go on adventures. This is the first one. We got book 8 in the Wings of Fire series. And we got in a new slanted fairy tale. This one is called Grounded, The Adventures of Rapunzel. A great new series about dragons. There are 7 books total in this series, and it begins with the first one called The Fire Within. New in nonfiction this month, we have Lab Coat Wizards. This is magical projects and experiments. In our narrative nonfiction section, we have this one. It's called Dear My Blank. These are secret letters that were never sent but were turned in for the writing of this book. And then we have a great new narrative nonfiction called Rising Above, about 11 athletes who had to overcome major challenges when they were kids in order to grow up to become stars. A great new book by YouTuber Ricky Dillon came in this month. It's in our narrative nonfiction section. And we also got Pilots in Peril. This is the untold story of U.S. pilots that fought during World War II. In romance, we got in a great new young adult romance called Interference. Catch a Falling Star is new in the romance section. And also we have What Light, a new book by Jay Asher, who wrote 13 Reasons Why. This is about a girl whose family owns a Christmas tree farm, and they go to California every year around Christmas to sell the trees, and she meets a boy there who has a pretty bad past, and she's determined to help him find his way. In comedy, we got book 2 in the Last Kids on Earth series. This one's called Zombie Parade. Book 4 in The Creature from My Closet came in. This one's called Catfish. Book 11 in Captain Underpants, and book 4 in the Spy School series. This one is Ski Spy School. In realistic fiction, we got Finding Perfect. In comedy, this month, we have Timmy Failure, book 5. Book 8 in the middle school series. This one is Dog's Best Friend. A new book by a really popular comedy author, Tom Engelberger. This one's called Fuzzy. 6 Kids and a Stuffed Cat is a new hilarious book by Gary Paulson. And we got in a great new one by Gordon Corman called Slacker. Also, we got in You. This is a great new book about a kid having trouble fitting in. OCD Daniel. This book is hilarious about a kid struggling with obsessive compulsive disorder. This month, we have Saving Red. This is a novel in verse, so it's told in poems, and it's about a girl who meets a red-headed homeless girl in the park one night and is determined to help her find her way home. You'll notice it's young adult. The Wild Robot. This is the story of a robot that wakes up in nature and doesn't know what's going on or how he got there, and he kind of makes friends with the animals and starts to remember his past. The Worst Night Ever. This is book 2 to The Worst Class Trip Ever. All Rise for the Honorable Perry T. Cook is about a boy who has grown up inside of a women's prison because his mom is an inmate there, until somebody with the state finds out and decides to put him in foster care. So very great book. about a kid kind of fighting for himself and some other adults helping him. This next one is called The Floating Circus, also in realistic fiction. In the mystery section, we got in a new horror called Amy, Chelsea, Stacy D. This one is super creepy. Also, we got The Call, which after you get the call, you have 3 minutes before you're dead. Good action adventure mystery. We also have The Darkest Hour, a great fiction book about a young girl chosen to work with the Secret Service during World War II to try to take down the Nazis. This one is totally made up, but still really good. We also got in book 3 in the Natural series. This one is called Bad Blood. And then we have Frozen Charlotte in the mystery section, and The Stranger Game. Natural Deeds. This is about a girl who becomes way too obsessed with a boy. We got book 3 in the Lockwood & Company series. This one is The Hollow Boy. We also got in Blood for Blood. This is the sequel to Wolf by Wolf, and it can be found in our action and adventure section. We have the novel of the Marvel Universe. This is the Civil War. It looks like a graphic novel, but it's actually not. Book 2 in Roland Smith's new series. The last one was called Beneath. This one is Above. We also got in One Was Lost, a new creepy action adventure. Lots of suspense in this one. And finally, we got in a science fiction book this month called The Catalyst. We have The Forgetting. Scythe, a great new book by Neil Shusterman, who wrote the Unwind series. This is about the future where we have mastered death and no one dies anymore. So the only way to die is if a person who has chosen to be a scythe kills you. The Big Dark, another new good science fiction one. Tangerine, a new sports book about a kid who moves to a very strange town and uses soccer to kind of help him fit in. New in graphic novels, we have book 1 in the Nameless City series. Book 1 in the Lunch Witch series. We have a new graphic novel series called Hazardous Tales, and these are true stories of crazy things that happened during different parts of history, told through graphic novels. So this one is Treaties, Trenches, Mud, and Blood, a tale of World War I. We have One Dead Spy. This is a story from the Revolutionary War. And The Donner Party, a story about some pioneers who got into some pretty bad luck and did some pretty crazy things to survive. We have a new series, first book, called Varmints. We have a new series also. This one's called Zeta the Space Girl, and book 2 is The Return of Zeta. And then another new one called Mighty Jack.